Well, hello model car fans. Welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Revell, and this week I'm going to feature the other 70 GTO Judge I built here, since you guys really enjoyed the other one. So I figured I would show you this one since I teased you about it. But this, of course, is a 70 GTO Judge Convertible that I built from basically the same MPC kit. And this one I built it as the Ram Air 4 option, which I kind of did with the other one. The Ram Air 4 option was a rare option, and in my opinion just kind of a funny option in the way that Pontiac just marketed it. The Judge package was a pretty cheap package, wasn't too bad. $336 option on top of your base GTO. Convertible option was only a $200 option, so the convertible wasn't very expensive, wasn't too bad. Judge came with your Ram Air 3 engine, which is rated at 366 horsepower, and it had some D-port heads and a few other things, but 366 horsepower was pretty potent package. The Ram Air 4 package, that gave you the round port heads, two-piece aluminum intake manifold, special carburetor, special cam. It even had a special block and modified oiling system in it, and special exhaust manifolds as well. So it was a pretty potent package, and it was a high winding package and everything. But here's where I think Pontiac kind of messed up, and I think others would agree. I've read about it in others. They rated it at 370 horsepower, and it was a $500 option to step up to this engine. Now on paper, how many of you would spend $500 in 1970 money for 6 extra horsepower, or 4 extra horsepower, sorry, 366 horsepower to 370 horsepower. So $500 for 4 extra horsepower. That doesn't make any sense. And then the other part, the survival rate of Ram Air 4s, not very good, because apparently they beefed up the block and all the high winding engine stuff, but they didn't do forged to crank or forged connecting rods, so there was a number of them that grenaded connecting rods and blew up their motors. So finding one with the original motor is pretty rare. And then on top of it, for some reason, the convertible packages didn't sell real well for 1970. Convertibles were kind of getting phased out, so I think there was some social changes going along with that. But so when I decided I was going to look around, and I bought a book called $1 Million Muscle Cars. Great book, and it actually features some very specific and very rare muscle cars, and this exact car that I modeled here was actually in it. So it gave me all the reference material I needed. GTO Judge convertibles, there was something like 168 something in 1970, but how many of them got the Ram Air 4 engine, they don't really know. There's something like 27 known Ram Air 4 Judge convertibles, and this represents one of them, although the real car doesn't have its original motor, but it's been well documented and restored, and it's one of the nicest examples. When I saw that in the book, I had to do that specific car. So as I had teased in the other video, this one was quite an undertaking to do. It was the one I had with the damaged A-pillar, so I had already knew, I'm like, alright, I've got 2 of them already, so cutting the roof off and using this is a Model Haas resin copy of the 69 Revell convertible windshield frame. So I had used that and made it to the body, and of course I did that before the Revell kit came out as a re-release, because it hadn't been out for a long time. And then from Model Haas I also got the convertible boot there. That's actually a Model Haas copy of the MPC 69 and 68 convertible boot, but I had used that. The rest of the interior is pretty much like a convertible. It had the dog legs here and everything, so pretty straightforward. But probably the biggest issue is the convertibles actually, the coupes have a ridge here and it's concave this way on both sides, but on this model body I sanded it completely flat, flattened it completely out to make it pretty accurate to the real cars. And it actually sanded out pretty well. It gets a little thin there, but I didn't have to do any putty work. and clean up the corners here where the rear windscreen is. But I managed to get it all to fit and then reshape that curve as much as I could to get it to flow like a convertible. So you can see it's pretty flat and it comes out really nice. So I'm really happy with that. And there's a real good close-up of this wing. That's a resin one from AFX and Scale, which is no longer in business. They're gone, but I've had a couple of these wings for a long time now. And then you can see the rear bumper there. And then these decals are Keith Marks decals. But if you notice some other details, that's not the molded in door handles. I took those off, shaved them, and used these. Those are from the Revell 66 Chevelle. So the door handles have been changed out. And then there's a front air dam right there that I added. And of course you got to have the hood tack. The rear view mirror from the 69 Camaro, the Revell kit. Which the one in the newest 69 Chevelle kit is a much nicer mirror, and you can position it where this one you can't. It pretty much goes where it goes. But as I hinted, I had a little fun detailing this one. So if you notice, there are photo etched seat belts. There's flocking in the carpeting. Hopefully the camera can pick that up. Here we go. So you can see the carpeting in there. And then I had a little bit more fun detailing it. You see the keys in the ignition there. So there's the key in the ignition. It's bouncing around. It's got a key tag on it, or the second key. The Hurst shifter, which I tried to duplicate as best as I could. And then the rear view mirror, and detail painting the dash as good as I could. So I had a lot of fun doing all of that. Keep that light right there because I think I'm going to have to move some more of this around. And then here's the engine compartment on this thing. So there's the Pontiac 400 from the Revell 68 Firebird kit. And I'll put that in there. And if you notice, I've got a fuel line, the radiator hoses, the heater hoses, the spark plug wires, even the master cylinder and the brake lines right there, the vacuum line to the master, the booster I should say. Put all of that in there. Now I didn't do battery cables. I don't know why, but I was close to doing it. But that's just one that I skipped out on. It got to the point where I was putting so much into this one, I was like, ah. And then here's the underside here. And this is all the entire engine compartment and the entire chassis is the AMT Hurst Olds, or the 442 Olds. One of the two. They're a little bit different between the two. The exhaust is a little bit different. I think this is the Hurst Olds version. Don't quite remember. One of them has the cherry bombs. The other one has more regular mufflers as far as that goes. And then automatic and manual trannies. But this one, you know, the engine and tranny are for a complete other kit. But if you also notice, there's fuel lines, brake lines, vapor lines, and even the rear axle right there. If you could see that. I did the lines across the axle. And then the fuel lines at the tank, if you can see the fuel lines at the tank right there. So they're all in there. And then I changed out the exhaust tips for the quad tips and cut the valance panel for them. So I had a lot of fun detailing this one out. And I haven't put a license plate on it. I really should, but I haven't. And these are the AMT tires. And I painted the shocks gold and some of that stuff. You can kind of see the fuel line at the fuel pump there, if you can see it on the engine. And then the brake line going across the cross member right here. So those of you who asked about detailing, you know, super detailing and some of that stuff, I do it rarely. I did it on this one, and it's a labor of love, but once it's done and said and done, they're hardly ever on my or out of my display cases. I mean, you're getting to see them now. That's one of the things with my channel that I've been enjoying, is show you the cars, show you the options, and tell you about them, and just share some of my builds and the enjoyment I have. As I build them, I like to research them, read about them, and fantasize about them. So, and then this is one I really went to town on, but it was a long process to build this one. But you guys really enjoyed the Orbit Orange one, and I'm kind of surprised, but you guys really enjoyed that one. I'm like, if you enjoyed that one, you're really going to enjoy this one. So I had to share this one with you. But I really love convertibles, and I really enjoyed doing them and building them. So I've got a lot of convertibles and even resin kits convertibles. And this is one of the rare of GM's convertibles. Not the rarest, but in the A-body GM world, it's one of the rarest. Ram Air Ford Judge Convertible, they're really rare. Whether it's an automatic or a 4-speed. Most of them were 4-speed. Great car. I just love the way they look, and for the most part. But yeah, it's just a fun car, and just fun to read about, especially the marketing and, in my opinion, the blunders on marketing that engine. But whether or not they really wanted to sell it to the buying public, it's kind of hard to sell an engine at that kind of price and only advertise a 4 horsepower gain. But I figured you would enjoy this, and as you enjoyed the other one. So thank you for subscribing and sharing and tuning in and all your comments, and I appreciate it. And you guys, you have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you next Saturday.